Threequels are controversial, tricky things. They exist usually when a great movie is followed by an even better sequel, and therefore have an intimidatingly large torch to carry. Unfortunately, however, they usually aren't known to carry that torch very well. The question is, why? What makes a bad threequel, and what makes a good threequel? To answer that question, let's look at two threequels: Terminator 3, Rise of the Machines, and Star Wars 3, Revenge of the Sith. Funny, even the names sound similar. Anyway, now don't get me wrong, there are exceptions to this rule. Movies like Back to the Future 3, Toy Story 3, and Lord of the Rings: Return of the King stand as shining examples of what a good threequel should be. Their greatness defies the very rules this analysis is based on. But the average threequel outnumbers these few diamonds in the rough tenfold. And that's what this is about. The average third installment, and when, despite its mediocrity, it can be allowed to take its place within the franchise it tries, and sometimes dares to represent. Terminator 3 is a straightforward, feel-good action movie that on its own is actually very entertaining. Its story, while thin, is neatly written. Its hero and villain take command of their roles to a superlative level. The action is involving and exciting, and the 22-year-old special effects could blow away the piss-poor efforts of today with a single thought. The problem is, if T3, as it's called, were a standalone movie, I'm sure it would be much more appreciated than it is. But it's not a standalone movie. It's the third installment of a game-changing action-adventure franchise that was beloved by nearly all who experienced it, and in that capacity, it added nothing to the continuation of this saga. Actually, it hurt it, soiling the foundational message of the first two films, namely, the future is what we make it. This movie shrugs that notion off with, never mind, the future is inevitable. Star Wars 3, on the other hand, stays as faithful and true to the universe it desperately tries to glue together as it possibly can. Revenge of the Sith, and by extension the entire prequel trilogy, was good at a conceptual level, but executed very badly. It is riddled with ham acting, pitiful dialogue that rivals only M. Night Shyamalan's The Village, forced emotion, and a disconnected story that yanks you around until suddenly Anakin decides now would be a good time to become evil. It captures the emotion of his turn and the repercussions of his turn quite well, but does little else in the way of cohesive storytelling. However, it was a genuine effort that tried very hard to complete the saga as faithfully as it could. In short, the better of those two movies is Rise of the Machines. And yet, the Terminator fan base, by and large, still rejects it to this day, whereas the Star Wars fan base, by and large, reluctantly accepts Revenge of the Sith, and always have. Leading to the conclusion that a good threequel doesn't have to be a good movie, it has to be a good installment. Revenge of the Sith, while clumsy, did all it could to tell the final tale that was the tragedy of Darth Vader, whereas Rise of the Machines showed little, if any, respect for the Terminator universe and more or less just used the Terminator name to justify its existence. Therefore, while I feel Rise of the Machines was the better movie, Revenge of the Sith was the better threequel.